Here is a sentence I want you to carry with you for the rest of your life. And easy not to do, that is it. 6 words, and those 6 words explain every fortune ever built and every fortune ever lost. They explain why some people arrive at the end of their years with abundance, with peace, with the satisfaction of a life well constructed. And they explain why others arrive with regret, with the emptiness, with the quiet and devastating question, where did the time go? I did not always understand this. There was a time, and I am not proud to admit how long that time lasted, when I believed that failure was dramatic, that announced itself, that when a man was losing, he would know he was losing. He would feel the ground shift beneath him. He would hear the alarm. But failure is not dramatic. Failure is quiet. Failure is the thing you did not do today, the walk you skipped, the book you did not open, the call you did not make, the small, simple, almost invisible act that you told yourself you would do tomorrow. And tomorrow became next week. And next week became next year. And next year became your life. Stay with me, because what I am about to share with you is not complicated, but it is profound. And if you let it settle into the way you think, truly settle, it will change the trajectory of everything. Let me give you the formula for failure. It is not laziness. It is not stupidity. It is not bad luck. The formula for failure is a few errors in judgment repeated every day. That is all. A few small errors repeatedly. And given enough time, those errors compound into a life that looks nothing like the one you once imagined for yourself. Now here is what makes this so insidious, so dangerous, so easy to miss. The errors feel harmless in the moment. That is the trap. You skip your morning reading and nothing happens. The sky does not fall. Your bank account does not change. Your health does not visibly decline. You feel fine. And so you skip it again tomorrow and the day after. And this is where most people make their fatal philosophical error. They look at the small neglect and they say, it does not matter. But here is what I have learned and what I want you to understand deeply. It always matters, not today, perhaps not this month, but compounded over years, over decades, the small neglect becomes the large regret. I used to think the great dividing line between the successful and the unsuccessful was some enormous decision, some single pivotal moment where one man chose courage and another chose fear. But that is not what I found when I studied the lives of people who had built something remarkable. What I found was this: the successful and the unsuccessful largely do the same things every day. They wake up. They face the same temptations, the same distractions, the same opportunities to choose ease over effort. The difference is not what opportunities they face. The difference is what they do with them. One man reads 10 pages. The other turns on the television. Both choices feel almost identical in the moment. One is easy to do. The other is easy not to do. But give those 2 men 20 years, and you will not need to ask which one is which. Their lives will speak for themselves. The formula for failure is not dramatic. It is patient, and it is waiting for the moment you decide that today's small discipline does not matter. I want to tell you about the ant. I have told this story many times, and I will keep telling it because it never stops being true. Go watch an ant sometime. Not a colony, one ant. Watch when it encounters an obstacle. It does not sit down and complain. It does not call a meeting. It does not wait for conditions to improve. It goes over, or it goes under, or it goes around. But it keeps moving, and it keeps carrying. Now here is the question I want you to sit with. What is the ant carrying? It is carrying something small. Something that by itself means almost nothing, but the ant does not evaluate each piece and decide whether it is worth the effort. The ant simply carries. every day, in every season. And what accumulates? Something remarkable, something far beyond what you would believe possible if you only watched one day's effort. This is the philosophy of accumulation. And it is the philosophy that the most successful people I have ever known, truly known, not just admired from a distance, have understood in their bones. They do not ask, will this one action change my life? They know the answer is no. One action rarely changes a life. But they ask a different question. What kind of person do I become if I do this every day? And that question, that is the question that changes everything. Be honest with yourself right now. What have you been carrying every day? What small disciplines have you been faithful to? And what small neglects have you been tolerating? Drop a number in the comments. 1, if you know you have been consistent. 2, if you know deep down that you have been letting the easy choice win. I want to know where you are. Because here is the truth. Wherever you are, you can begin carrying again. The ant does not mourn the days it did not carry. It simply picks up the next piece. Here is what nobody warns you about when you are young. The path toward the life you want and the path away from it look almost exactly the same at the beginning. They feel the same. They require roughly the same amount of effort at first. The person doing the daily disciplines and the person skipping them both wake up in the morning feeling about equal. Both eat breakfast. Both go about their day. From the outside, you cannot tell them apart. This is what I call the slight edge. And it is the most dangerous and most powerful force in human life. Dangerous because the person on the wrong path does not feel the danger. The neglect is so slight, so easy to rationalize, that they do not sound the alarm. They tell themselves, I will get serious next month, when things calm down, when I have more time, when conditions are better, and the slight edge keeps compounding, quietly, patiently, invisibly, in the wrong direction. Powerful because the person on the right path does not need dramatic effort. They simply need consistency. They do not need to outwork the world in a single day. They need to do the small right things, faithfully day after day, until the compound interest of good habits begins to show. And here is the magnificent truth: the disciplines required to build a great life are not hard. That is what most people misunderstand. They imagine that successful people are doing something heroic, something beyond their own capacity. But the daily disciplines that build success are simple. They are accessible. They are, in fact, easy to do. The problem, and this is the heart of everything I want you to understand, is that they are equally easy not to do. And on any given day, the easier path is the one that requires nothing of you. The television is easier than the book. The complaint is easier than the plan. The snooze button is easier than the sunrise. Most people will hear this and nod, and then do nothing. The few who act on it, those are the ones who build something worth having. Which one are you going to be? If what I have just shared with you, this idea that the small daily choice is the only thing standing between the life you have and the life you want, if that has landed somewhere real inside you today, then I want you to stay with me. Because what I am about to walk you through next is the part most people never reach. It is the part about what happens when the seasons change, when the discipline gets hard, and when the compound interest of your choices, good or bad, finally begins to show its face. If this message is speaking to you, subscribe right here, because this is what we do every single week. We go deep into the ideas that actually change how a person lives. And you do not want to miss what is coming. Life has seasons. I have said this for many years, and I believe it more now than ever. There is a time to plant and a time to harvest. There is a time of abundance and a time of scarcity. There is a time when everything you have built seems to flourish effortlessly. And there is a time when the winds come and the cold comes and you find out with terrible clarity whether you prepared during the summer. Here is what I have observed. The people who practice the daily disciplines when it is easy are the ones who survive when it is hard. Because the disciplines are not just about productivity. They are about character. They are about building the kind of person who does not collapse when the season changes. I have met many people who said, I will get serious when things get difficult. And I want to tell you gently but honestly, that is not how it works. You do not develop discipline under pressure. You revealed the discipline, or the lack of it, that you built during the quiet seasons. The farmer does not plant in winter, but the farmer who spent autumn in preparation, who stored what was needed, who did not waste the harvest, that farmer survives the winter, and more than survives. That farmer arrives at spring ready. Ask yourself this: what season are you in right now? And more importantly, are you behaving as if you know another season is coming? Because it is. It always is. The question is never whether the winter will arrive. The question is only whether you will be ready. If you know someone who is in a difficult season right now, someone who needs to hear that preparation is still possible, that it is not too late to build, send them this. That is one of the most generous things you can do for someone you care about. Here is a distinction that changed my life. And I offer it to you now as freely as I wish someone had offered it to me. Most people work hard at their job. They show up. They put in the hours. They do what is required. And there is nothing wrong with that. But here is the question I want you to sit with. How hard are you working on yourself? Because your job will give you a living. But only you can give yourself a life. And those are not the same thing, not even close. The skills you develop on your own time, the books you read, the ideas you wrestle with, the habits you build before anyone is watching, those are the things that determine not just what you earn, but who you become. And who you become is the ultimate determining factor of what your life looks like. I have seen people with tremendous talent arrive at 50 with very little to show for it. And I have seen people with ordinary beginnings arrive at 50 with extraordinary lives. The difference was almost never talent. The difference was almost always this one person worked on themselves every single day, and the other person waited for the job, the circumstance, the lucky break to do the work for them. The lucky break rarely comes. And even when it does, it goes to the person who prepared for it. Here is my challenge to you. Not next Monday. Not when the new year arrives. Today, find 30 minutes that belong entirely to your own development. Read something that stretches you. Listen to something that challenges you. Write down one idea that you want to act on. Just 30 minutes. Easy to do. And of course, easy not to do. Which one will you choose? Tell me in the comments, what is the one thing you are committing to work on starting today? I read these, and I want to know. I want to bring you now to the most important idea in everything we have discussed today. Because everything else, the formula for failure, the slight edge, the seasons, the daily disciplines, all of it leads here. The compound cost of the easy choice. You already understand compound interest in money. A small amount invested consistently grows into something remarkable over time. Most people understand this in theory. But here is what they fail to apply. The same law governs everything. Not just money. Everything. The compound interest of daily reading builds a mind that sees what others miss. The compound interest of daily exercise builds a body that serves you for decades. The compound interest of daily kindness builds relationships that sustain you when everything else fails. And the compound interest of daily neglect, of the small, easy skips, the harmless, seeming avoidances, builds a life of quiet regret. Here is what I want you to understand about the compound cost specifically. It does not announce itself early. For the first year, the first 5 years, you may not see the difference between the person who is doing the disciplines and the person who is skipping them. They may look similar. They may even feel similar. But at year 10, at year 20, the gap becomes visible. And by then, closing it requires far more than it would have cost to stay consistent in the first place. This is why I say, do not wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Because wishing for easier conditions is wishing for a smaller life. But wishing to be better, committing to the daily, invisible, unsexy work of becoming better, that is wishing for everything. The disciplines that build a great life are easy to do. Please hear me on this. They are not climbing mountains. They are not heroic acts of sacrifice. They are simple. They are available to you today, right now, with exactly what you have. But they are equally easy not to do. And that is the sentence that explains every failure. Not bad luck, not the economy, not the people around you. The small, simple, available thing that you chose not to do today, and yesterday, and the day before. The good news, and there is very good news, is that the same law that works against you can work for you, starting today. Starting with one small discipline, chosen and honored, that you do not allow yourself to skip. Just one. And then another, and then another. That is how a life is built, not in a single heroic moment, in the accumulation of faithful, easy-to-do things. Done. If you have stayed with me this far, truly stayed, truly listened, then you are not an average person. Average people click away. Average people consume a few minutes and move on. You stayed because something in you recognized that this matters, that you matter, and that the life you want is still available to you. Subscribe right here if you have not already, because this is the work we do together. Week after week, idea after idea, building the philosophy that builds the life. And the next message, it goes even deeper into the daily choices that separate the life you are living from the life you are capable of living. Easy to do, and easy not to do. Now you know which one you will choose, because now you know what it truly costs. Thanks for watching. The end screen has more videos in the same world. Pick the video on the end screen that calls to you and keep building.